Replaying the entirety of Chapter 1, Fortnite OG was believed to have just been a mode that was made for us to re-experience Fortnite's past. And although that still remains relatively true, things unexpectedly took a big turn when Season 4 launched. The Visitor had arrived onto the island through the meteor like he did before, but this time something was off. Not only did he get a new suit that turns out to be canon, but also quest dialogue seems to suggest that he's been re-experiencing his time on the Chapter 1 island again. Upon his arrival, the IO bunker at Wailing Woods also began to strangely flash a light in Morse code that, when translated, says something is wrong. And lastly, in the replay of the rocket launch event, things took a major twist when the sideways rift that the Visitor opened up in the sky turned out to be different with the reddish-orange color instead of the original light blue color. We've got quite a bit to discuss about Fortnite OG and the implications it may have on the story. So sit back, relax, and let's bring to light the secrets of Fortnite OG. Let's start off by addressing the elephant in the room, the Visitor. How was he back, and how was his suit canon? The last time we'd seen the Visitor was in the Chapter 3 Season 4 Paradise trailer, where he was chromed by the Herald alongside the Origin and the Scientist. Fast forward to Chapter 4, an Amy test fragment revealed to us that all of the 7 except for the Paradigm were being tortured and having their existence sculpted anew by the Nothing.
He's different now. They're all different now. As we speak, they change. I didn't think I left the ominous warnings mod installed. It sculpts his existence anew. A fate darker than the worst imaginable. Wait, what? Are you talking about... No. You can't be. You'll find him. But will you get there in time to save him? The test rift locked onto the Scientist, and something horrible is happening to him. What could be darker than the worst fate imaginable? The second that gate is online, I need to be ready to use it, to find him, before it's too late.
And that was the last time we received an update on the 7's status. But in this season of OG, the Visitor has made a return, and this isn't just any remix or snapshot. This is our Visitor. Now, some of you may be asking how I know that, and that's because of two important details. The first detail is the description of the new Visitor outfit. In Chapter 3, all the newer members of the 7 had one of the 7 in their descriptions. Originally, the Visitor, the Scientist, and OG Paradigm had that phrase in their descriptions as well. But one day, it was suddenly removed from all of their descriptions, which made people speculate that all 3 of them would be getting new outfits relatively soon. It turns out that the speculation was correct, and the first one to receive a new suit was the Paradigm. And as expected, the description of her new outfit included the one of the 7 phrase. This then left the Visitor and the Scientist. Now 3 years later, the Visitor has finally received a new outfit, and in his description the same phrase can be found as well, confirming that his suit is canon and that this is our Visitor. Although if that's not enough to convince you, the second detail may. In the OG quest for this season, dialogue from the Visitor can be found under each quest. Out of all the dialogue, there is one specific line that stands out the most. I remember these places fondly. This line alone confirms that the Visitor is re-experiencing his past, further proving that this is the original one we all know and love. But okay, if this is the original Visitor, then how did he get here and why isn't he corrupted? Well, as always, I have a theory for that. In the Oathbound quests, Amy's fragment revealed that the 7's existence was being sculpted anew, meaning their identity was being changed and they were being repurposed to serve the Nothing. But I theorized that maybe the Visitor was able to resist it and the Nothing failed to entirely corrupt him. In the Bytes questline, the Nothing told Bytes that in order to join the last reality, he needed to give up everything. And once you give up everything, all you have left is nothing. Yes, the situation was a bit different with Bytes considering he was willingly giving himself to the Nothing. However, I believe this still holds true, even if someone is being corrupted or forced to join the last reality like the 7. Everything would have been taken away from them and all that would remain is nothing. This would mean that the visitor's identity and values had to have been very grounded for him to not have given into the Nothing's corruption. So all that ended up being changed was Visitor's armor, but his soul and identity remained unchanged. From there, I believe he must have found a way to escape, possibly thanks to a diversion caused by Amy. If you all remember, the Amy fragment claimed that Amy would be able to find the Seven, but it was only a matter of time before she can save them. And at the end of the Oathbound quests, Amy used the Rift Gate to travel to the last reality in an attempt to save the scientist. So perhaps Amy made it and was able to assist Visitor in his escape. Then after escaping, I believe that the Visitor might have used some sort of rift technology that ultimately brought him back to the past of Reality Zero. Although I have a feeling that the Big Bang could have possibly contributed to his return as well. But I'm sure many of you are asking, is this an alternate reality of Chapter 1 or the actual past of Reality Zero? I personally believe OG is the actual past of Reality Zero, and we are currently witnessing the Big Bang's effects on its past, meaning these changes to the past are happening live and OG is simultaneously playing out alongside Chapter 6. Another very important thing about the Visitor is his new name, which is the Visitor Reality Unknown, similar to how the Paradigm's new outfit was named Paradigm Reality 659. Based on how the Paradigm's reality number was the reality she traveled to immediately after escaping the Chrome, we can assume that this may be the same situation with the new Visitor outfit. That being said, I believe Reality Unknown is actually where OG takes place. Thanks to leakers, we learned that originally the Visitor's new outfit was meant to be named the Visitor Reality 157, but the reality number changed to Unknown last minute. I don't believe this means that Reality 157 was scrapped, but rather I think the writers chose to save this reveal for a later time. But why is that? I theorize that's because Reality 157 may be the previous location of where Reality Zero was located from Chapter 1 to Chapter 3 before the fracture event took place. For those of you who don't know, after the loop bubble was destroyed, the 0 point relocated to another reality to create the Chapter 4 island. The past is replaying again to show us the things that have changed as a consequence of the Big Bang event. And this doesn't mean that things are being retconned, by the way. The timeline has just changed as a result of the Chapter 4 finale, but all the events that transpired in Chapter 1 are still canon since they are ultimately what led us to this very moment. Speaking of the Big Bang, some other changes that could be seen in OG is with the Imagined Order. The first is the flashing bunker at Wailing Woods. Originally, nothing ever happened with this bunker. However, upon the launch of this season, the bunker began flashing lights, and it turns out it was actually Morse code that translated into the phrase, "Something is wrong." So it's safe to assume that the Imagined Order from the past is slowly beginning to realize that things aren't as they were or should be, and it happened to be correct, because the second thing different in OG is that Omega is no longer an actor, but an actual guard for the government, which is the Imagined Order undercover. This is actually revealed in the Omega defense loading screen, where Omega can be seen clashing with the Visitor in the government's facility within Dusty Divot. The description of the loading screen also reads, "No visitors allowed." Of course, this loading screen is a parallel to the Showdown loading screen from Chapter 1 Season 4, but that doesn't mean this isn't canon. We already know that the OG mode is canon. Some things are just slightly different as a result of the Big Bang. Despite that, the Visitor still won the fight against Omega, and after ravaging the government's facility, he began modifying the rocket again just like he did 7 years ago in Chapter 1, leading us straight into the rocket launch live event. The rocket launch event in OG played out relatively the same as it did in Chapter 1. However, there were two main differences that were in the beginning and the end of the event. At the beginning of the event, a mysterious red rift butterfly appeared in front of us. Its movements were erratic, and moments later it shot towards the tip of the rocket and rifted away. Then at the end of the event, the large sideways rift that the Visitor's rocket opened up was a reddish-orange color instead of the original light blue. So what's going on? It seems that the red rift butterfly might have potentially sabotaged the Visitor's rocket. While we don't know who or what may have sent this butterfly, the butterfly's movements may have potentially revealed what this red rift actually means and what it is. I believe these rapid wing flaps could suggest that this red butterfly is unstable, meaning the red rift itself is unstable as well. And if this happens to be correct, then this would mean that the blue rift color is stable, the red rift color is unstable, the purple rift color is corrupted, and all that's left is the golden rift, which we still have yet to learn about. Speaking of a golden rift, I'm sure many of you are wondering now what kind of cube could possibly come through the rift in Season 5. I did some hue adjusting and discovered that it took an 87 plus hue increase for the original Sideways rift to turn purple. And if Epic are going to do another hue increase like that but on the red Sideways rift, it will turn yellow. So maybe instead of us getting a purple cube, this time we might get a yellow cube. There's also the possibility that we might get to see the long theorized about red cube, but we'll just have to see whether any of that will happen or if Epic will just stick with the regular purple cube. Apart from that, the rift oddities are already appearing around the island, with the first prop to disappear being the Lonely Lodge sign. These red rifts are very interesting, and I hope we'll get a cinematic showing where these props ended up going, just like we did in the original Season 5 trailer. And that wraps it up for the entire Season 4 OG storyline explained. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one, Lore Keepers.